Want some, get some.
How about those friggin' Pirates?
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the Pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're Pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I don't think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
We will get to Omaha. I can promise you that.
Red and purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
What is going on, Pirate Nation? Welcome into the Sports Objective. We're talking Pirate Athletics, specifically Team Boneyard, over the next hour or so. We really appreciate David Price joining us tonight. He is a board member with Team Boneyard, and he is making his debut on the show. So, David, welcome in.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, Bubba.
Absolutely. I guess I met you about a month ago, spring game weekend, following the baseball game against Charlotte. And, things went very well in the spring game and surrounding the spring game as it pertains to Team Boneyard with apparel sales and so on and so forth. I know you guys did an auction. We'll dive into that. But before we discuss a lot of those items, just for Pirate Nation, and for those fans that don't know you or haven't heard of you, just give them your affiliation, your background with East Carolina University.
Okay, so I was a graduate in 05 of construction management program, and I still give back to that. We have a scholarship that's underway for David Price Construction, so I'm excited to put that out there for the program and hopefully for some kids that can get into the industry.
Of course, like you mentioned, David Price Construction. You guys, the countdown to kickoff on Pirate Radio, definitely, hear that on a daily basis between now and football season. But so as it pertains to Team Boneyard, this is something the NIL game over the last couple years and the need to have a collective. And your involvement with Team Boneyard, how did that come to be?
Well, to be honest, I was pretty anti-NIL at first and didn't like the whole idea of, helping the players, I guess, paying the players, whatever the situation may be beyond scholarships and everything else. But then I think you start seeing what the field does if you don't get involved. And I was approached by Hank Hinton to get involved and was happy to, and now there's 6 of us that are trying our best to raise as much money as we can for the Pirates in various ways. So that's kind of how that got started.
David, this is Kyle from LaGrange Barber, the co-host of the show that Bubba forgot to introduce earlier. You mentioned about being anti-NIL initially, and I'm still anti-NIL, although I do give the Team Boneyard and encourage everybody else to, because it's the only way you're going to be competitive in this landscape of college athletics. How do you, that's where I'll start. How do you pitch it to people, to the average man, to the common man, if you will, to quote the American Dream, Dusty Rose, blue collar guys, that, maybe go, hey, I make, 40, 50,000 a year. What the hell am I paying these players for? I already buy season tickets. I already give to the Pirate Club. Already buy a parking pass. Why do I need to give my hard-earned money to the players? I already know the answer. It's because if you want to make East Carolina remain competitive in the landscape of college athletics, you got to. But how do you sell that to people?
Well, I mean, that's pretty much the only answer, right? Like, if you're going to put your money towards tickets, do you want to watch D2 players out there on the field playing? if you're going to put your money towards other things like the Pirate Club to hopefully be able to get good bowl tickets, be able to get whatever else you want, do you want to have D2 players out there? You know, why are you going to put up any kind of other facilities if you're going to have D2 type players? So basically, we got to raise money. We got to be able to help pay the players to get the players we need to be able to be successful, and that's kind of exactly what it is right now, to be honest. I mean, that's all there is right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Unfortunately, I think it's taken precedence over facility upgrades and everything else. How does and I'm all over the place, and I'll let Bubba refocus things, but just kind of what you're alluding to. How do you think, and maybe this ain't a question for you, or I'll ask it to you anyway, but how do you think long term Team Boneyard and NIL coexist with the Pirate Club? Because obviously, facility upgrades, they're Pirates Unite campaigns going on, and we're still trying to build a indoor practice facility, not to mention baseball facilities. Um, you know, all that to me is extremely important, but it is secondary at this point to me because you can have the nicest indoor facility in the world. If somebody offers you, 100K to come play, and we can't do that, then it don't matter what kind of indoor facility we have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that having I mean, it obviously helps from recruiting standpoint and everything else, but having an indoor practice facility, having the basketball practice facility, having any of that stuff, does it really matter if you're not able to retain your best players or get better players than you may already have on the roster? I mean, does that matter anymore in recruiting wise? Or does just a number right now flashing to a recruit matter to a recruit? And I feel like most of those guys are just looking for a number, and they'll take $10,000 more, $20,000 more, whatever it is, versus playing time or whatever. It just is a different world we're living in nowadays.
Do you foresee? I mean, this is. I don't guess you would have any more knowledge of this than I do, but do you foresee this being wrangled in at any point? I think at some point it's got to be. I think at some point we got to put some kind of reasonable cap on it. It cannot just stay completely open market Wild West forever. I mean, it's just. If it does stay that way, I definitely see a split coming.
No, I would say you're probably right. I mean, it's going to have to. It's probably going to come from the legislature, to be honest, right? I mean, that's the only place at this point that could probably rein this in. But for now, we're just focused, determined on working with it. And I'll be honest, we just had a meeting the other day with John and Ryan, and it went great. One of, a few we've had, and they seem to be very receptive to understanding the situation. So
yeah, they would have to be. I would hope they would be working hand in hand with Team Boneyard.
Yes, we are, to some degree, as much as we can from
right.
a university standpoint at this point. I think in the future, probably looking at Virginia and some other decisions that have come out of other states, you're probably looking at a situation where somehow it gets reined in. Now, how does that work with the Board of Governance here in North Carolina? I'm not sure, but at some point it's going to get reined in and probably go under the university's umbrella or something like that, with us staying on, or different people being an executive committee, board, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I know Texas A&M. They're laying people off. When I can't imagine they need to free up more money, but I heard them laying people off in the athletic department to free up money for NIL when the university takes it over, is what they're figuring.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy out there right now, really. I mean, it's every week you hear something different popping up in different corners of the universe, from what a player just got paid to players not even ending up back on a roster anywhere, right? I mean, they're literally losing their scholarship to get an education by jumping in the portal because people are giving them bad information, whatever it may be. But others are making more money by jumping in the portal, and it's just kind of a crazy world right now.
A moment ago, David, you mentioned the word board. So obviously you're a member of the board of Team Boneyard. Many folks do probably already know, the other members of that board, but for those who do not, very quickly bring them up to speed on everyone that is a board member, and their background with ECU.
Sure. You got Doug Gomes. He was with Grady White's with KDL Construction now. You've got Hank Hinton with IBX Media. You've got Lance Clark with Bill Clark Homes. You've got David Faree with Anson Belt. You got Matt Slate, and he's done phenomenal things for Bank of America in the finance world. And then you've got me, David Price Construction.
You talk about David Faree, with Anson Belt. Obviously, you've seen the commercials on social media with former and now current players. With their deals with Anson Belt. Certainly a quality product. Myself, I bought one for my dad and I last Christmas. I'm very, very pleased with the product. But be it that association with Anson Belt, or of course a great partnership with Sup Dogs with the Sup Crush vodka that was launched here, I guess back in mid-February. The first 15 days yielded $15,000 for Team Boneyard, and then $16,000 in March. So let's hone in on that partnership with Brett Oliverio and Sup Dogs.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fantastic. He's been a great partner. It's an unbelievable opportunity that he presented us with to partner up on, and we couldn't pass it up. We did have a couple other offers, and they were fantastic offers as well, but he wanted to be able to solely do this, and I thought that was a great idea, and we jumped on it, and it's worked to a great extent so far. So we're really excited about that partnership in the future. We're looking forward to Pirates buying a bunch of that purple vodka and go out and get the Team Boneyard edition. Every bottle sold at an ABC store is $5 to Team Boneyard. So if you're against NIL and want to benefit, go get some vodka. If you buy it down at Crush Distillery, which I would recommend anybody coming into town for a game going down there and checking that place out. It's really, really cool. Then you're going to get $10 to Team Boneyard. So thank you all to all the Pirates out there buying it right now, and no pun intended, just crushing it. So that's awesome.
Is that available at ABC stores statewide?
It is working its way quickly statewide, yes. As they're seeing the numbers coming out of Pitt County and some of the other counties, it's doing very well. It has fallen behind the Orange Crush, which is also excellent, but it's one of the top producers in the state, so that's awesome.
And yes, you have the Team Boneyard vodka, but like you mentioned, there's other products. If that's your preference, buy those as well, because with Sup Dog support, odds are East Carolina is going to see it in some way, in some form down the road.
Yeah, well, there's the big promotion of the week, right? Hancock Peanuts.
Exactly.
We have Team Boneyard Hancock salted peanut. It's been a great partnership there too. You're going to see some really cool stuff coming out of our social media about that if you haven't already this week. And there's one other that I feel like is a positive moving forward, and that's a partnership with Dude Beer. It's out of Holly Springs. The Aviator people are the ones helping brew it and bottle it. And we've had a couple meetings and been able to taste it. It's fantastic. We're really happy to put our name on that, and that'll be coming out soon. They're working on that as fast as we can. So
what style of beer is it?
I believe it's like a Pilsner or a lager. I don't remember, but it's a light beer. It's a great beer that you can crush by the pool, crush at a tailgate. It's I don't want to say anything negative about other beers, but it's a really good beer. You're going to enjoy it.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So yeah, you're going to enjoy it. Trust me.
Yes, sir.
Going back to that relationship with Hancock Peanuts, and that is a company that's right there, Greenville based, in addition to being East Carolina friendly. And very sharp looking can for those who have not seen it. There you go.
There it is.
And Team Boneyard, salted peanuts, cool pirate map, and neat collector's can there.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably a good thing for Greenville if you could go. Think about this: if you went to any bar or whatever, and you're able to have some Team Boneyard peanuts while you're drinking a dude beer and a Sup Crush with Team Boneyard vodka. I mean, what could be better than that, right? So, trying to put the pieces together for you guys out there.
Absolutely, and it's great to see folks jumping on board. You know,
we need a bourbon, David. We need a bourbon.
All right, good. Yeah, we'll keep working on it. You know, that's it's moving at a pretty good pace. And he mentioned earlier we do have the shop online, and we started with probably 6 or 7 pieces of merchandise. We've added a few more in a drip, probably per month or so, and we'll keep adding more pieces over the next little bit. And then I don't know, I think there was a question earlier potentially about us moving forward with an auction or something like that. I think we'll leave that up to Pirate Nation to see how much of that is those experiences they want. If that's something that they want, we could probably do more of that in the future for sure.
Obviously, the baseball program, as it pertains to their auction, that they do in conjunction with their first pitch dinner and the ECU baseball banquet right there a couple weeks prior to the start of each season. So many times, yielding right at or in excess of 6 figures. Not only do they have baseball items, but they have items, from other sports, East Carolina athletes in the pros or otherwise. So is that something, maybe getting a Justin Hardy to autograph a jersey or whatnot, and having an auction of items like that?
Yeah, I think that's all stuff we've been discussing, things in the works. I think the experiences are really cool for fans to be able to do things that maybe they've never been able to. Kind of what you alluded to earlier, right, Kyle? If you're making $50,000 a year or whatever it is, $40,000 a year as an educator, how can you get involved with Team Boneyard? Well, these are ways that I hope that people could be able to buy a one-off and have an experience with a coach, giving you their game plan or whatever it is. I mean, how cool is that to be able to sit in the room where the players are doing that? How cool is it to be able to go on the field? Who gets that opportunity very often other than the people that give a lot of money to the university? So I think it's really good for the fans. I think that the opportunity for us to reach out to our past players is great. And we already have some that are reaching out to us. And I think you're going to see some things in the future. Yeah.
You talk about former players at the spring game. David Garrard, great Pirate quarterback from the late 90s and early 2000s, was in attendance, as he so often is. Does a great job of getting up here from Jacksonville, Florida. But and I know you and some other of the board members had the opportunity to interact with him some in Town Bank Tower.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic day. He was in town visiting his in-laws, and I think I don't know if it was even a thought process that he would go to the game, but realized it was happening, came up there, sat with us. It was the Davids and David Faree, myself, and David Garrard. So 3 Davids up there in Town Bank hanging out watching the game, and it was a good experience. I think he really enjoyed it. We really enjoyed it, and we had the opportunity to talk to him about helping promote us, because I think that's the big thing is how do we get our name out there better amongst Pirate Nation, and how do we get people to follow us on social media so they even know those experiences are available to them through an auction or whatever it may be. And that's why, coming on tonight, meeting with you guys, just trying to get it out there as much as possible to every little corner of Pirate Nation.
Where you guys? Obviously, the Hinton station. I'm sure you guys are advertising on all those platforms. Where else is Team Boneyard being advertised besides social media in the Hinton stations? I mean, I would think we would want to be, and I say we, meaning Team Boneyard, in every advertising in every, major market in the Carolinas up through Virginia and DC.
Yeah, we having some conversations about how we get more advertising out there. Obviously, myself and Matt and a couple others have been on Pirate Radio, the Hinton stations. We also do advertising with Playfly at games and other things like that, and there'll be more of that this coming year. So you guys will see a whole lot more of that actively at games and chances for people to be able to sign up and things like that. That's part of what we're doing with the administration as well as Playfly.
And one thing I always tell people is you can join for as little as $10 a month. And if you care about ECU athletics, that's a friggin' one combo at Bojangles now. That's lunch at Bojangles for one stinking chicken supreme
Probably
meal.
not even, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
basically.
exactly.
So I mean, if you care about Pirate athletics enough to buy season tickets and give to the Pirate Club, then you can probably at least afford another $10 a month.
Yeah, it's all about the. I think that's the future for us, right? Is we can get $1 million to $2 million from donors, that's okay. But if we can get a couple $1 million a year in steady contributions from everyone in Pirate Nation
Yep.
and bump that number up, that's only more buying power for us to go after players in football, basketball, baseball, whatever sport people want to donate to. You can literally tell us which sport you want to donate to, right? So I think it's just the most important thing this year for us is trying to get more people to become monthly subscribers, get more people wearing the hats, other things like that. So be a part of Team Boneyard.
You talk about the hats at the spring game. I know you guys said, or that night at dinner, you said that the hat sales, shirts, other apparel went very well. You know what you sold several $1,000s worth, if I'm not mistaken. So and that was right before the website included the merchandise store, and I believe that was something that David was kind of taking on with his background there with Anson.
Yeah, I think Matt and David been working on that pretty hard. Matt Slate's done a big portion of a lot of things here. I think it's I think that's kind of one way we're going to make more money. It really did. We raised a few $1,000s that day, and we raised a few $1,000s more with people going on and buying it. So you'll start seeing people wearing it at games, and that's going to be awesome to me. I think it's going to be fantastic to see people supporting the Pirates and Team Boneyard at the same time. You already see it at baseball games, guys wearing hats. They feel like a part of something, I think, and they should. We are all in it together. Whether you give, $20,000 or you give $10 a month, you can be a part of it, and that's what's really cool about it to me. And what's cool is to go walk into games and see guys wearing different hats, 23 Club, Team Boneyard, whatever hats, and just at the same time that they're sporting their Pirate purple and gold. So it's amazing.
And be it yourself, Hank, Matt, etc. When you guys have been discussing Team Boneyard on the various programs, around Greenville and so forth, I've noticed the emphasis on many folks in Pirate Nation, like Kyle mentioned earlier. Yes, they want to support the Pirates, and many would do that without getting anything in return other than priority season tickets and then also parking and those sorts of things. But there are or is a large faction of folks that also like something tangible, and you guys are making that available. Be it the vodka, be it merchandise, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's the plan, man, is to give back to the Pirate Nation as much as we can, and as much as they give us, we try to give back, right? So that's going to be both in whatever we can come up with other Pirates that want to support us, and as at the same time with hopefully putting players on the field or on the court that can win. I mean, that's the big thing is being able to put enough money out there that we can entice players to come here versus High Point in basketball or somebody that you would never think we'd have to compete with, but that's what we're doing these days. They don't have a football team. They have a war chest for basketball. We have a football war chest.
Right.
We need a basketball war chest.
Now, speaking of the football war chest, and then we'll go over to basketball. About where are we at right now financially for our for NIL for football? Dealing with just round numbers, and where do we need to be to compete at the top of the American and be at the top of the so-called group of five NIL-wise?
I think we're going to end up somewhere just under $1 million this year, if I had to guess, and we need to be at a 1.5.
1.5, and that would put us top tier of the American, or
I think that would put us in the top tier. Yes, I don't think we could ever get to the top and compete with Memphis at what you guys understand getting and stuff like that, right? But I think you combine 2,000 to 5,000 Pirates giving at least $10 a month, and what we're doing with donors and what creative ideas we're coming up with companies that maybe want tax breaks or whatever it is to go towards Team Boneyard instead of federal government, whatever the reasons are, right? I mean, that's part of why I do it. But also want a productive team on the field. That's the biggest thing is I don't think people understand how difficult it is to recruit in this current landscape, the type of players we're going to have to get here. And that's just going to cost money. And that money is going to go up, I'm afraid, year by year.
Yeah, I see a split coming. I think eventually, unfortunately, I think it's reality. I think the SEC, the Big Ten, and a few other schools that just monetarily nobody can compete with are going to split away and kind of leave the rest of us to what we thought of as college football with a little bit of NIL stirred in. But unfortunately, I think that's coming. I just don't see any way, shape, or form where if there's not legislation put in place to rein this in, where East Carolina or even NC State is going to be able to compete with the Ole Misses and the Texas A&Ms of the world with NIL.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I mean, that's basically your all in. Is hope you got the facilities you need right now, because you're going to have to be paying the players to be able to field that type of team that could win championships, either conference or otherwise. So it's just you're going to have to be able to get to that 1.5 million somehow, some way for football. Probably close to 750 for basketball.
Where are we at right now for basketball?
Around 4.
Okay.
So, and that should be decent if you pay your, couple top tier players and a couple, maybe 4 second tier players, and that's it. Unfortunately for the other guys on the team, that's the way it's going to have to start becoming, I think, is that, just because you make a team doesn't mean you're going to get any money from a collective, whether that's Team Boneyard or anyone else. It's going to have to be the guys that can get out there and create enough buzz on the field or court that they deserve name and image and likeness, right? I mean, that was the whole idea in the first place.
Yeah, no doubt. You just wonder as that grows more and more and more, and the on teams, as you have players kind of like classes on team, meaning social classes. You're going to have guys making potentially $100,000 than somebody else, just on scholarship, getting nothing beyond a scholarship and education. Not saying that's nothing, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of locker room
well,
that
you'll
creates.
See if people are really into an education anymore, if they just want money, right? I mean, that's what it's going to boil down to is, will you stay in the long haul for 4 years, not making anything, but being a role player, or are you going to jump ship to try to go find money somewhere. And what if a role can't be anything but a role player at ECU means that you don't end up on another team?
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting time. I can't imagine. I know that's why a lot of older head coaches have gotten out of it. Like I said, trying to manage a roster right now is insanity. Let alone, like I said, probably managing a locker room with some guys making a lot of money and then other guys that aren't making anything. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting dynamic in college athletics right now. It's certainly not the college sports we grew up with, but unfortunately. I'm all for the players making some money, but and I'm supporting it. It's just I hate that it's come to this, and that's something. That's another thing. And you admitted it yourself. You kind of had the same feelings, particularly in the beginning, but you feel like you're like me. You feel like you have to do it.
Well, I don't think it's a feeling. I think we have to do it. I mean, that's not a feeling, right? It's a fact. This is what we're up against. This is what we're in. This is the current landscape. Somebody said Wild Wild West earlier. That feels like it a lot. There's days that make it feel like that's exactly what it is, right? I mean, this is the end of the portal closing, and players are coming up to coaches wanting more money, and we don't have more money or whatever it is. But I mean, it's just the fact of life. It is what it is, and other teams can try to entice our players to get in the portal, and it's currently, I guess, not illegal.
I didn't think you were supposed to do that. I thought, I thought it
don't
was
think you're
illegal.
supposed to do it. I don't know if it's.
It's not being
Right.
policed
There
very
may
well.
be rules that are actually enforceable right now. Is what I'm getting at, right?
Right,
Exactly.
or our tight end wouldn't be at Texas A&M. So
Right, and not make anything maybe.
Yeah, I was going somewhere and lost my train of thought there, Bubba. If you want to
Well,
take
Kyle,
how about a guy leaving a program making money and going to another program and not make anything? That's just a higher up program.
Is he not making anything at A&M?
I'm not saying.
he's speaking in generalities.
Okay, gotcha.
But I mean, who would have seen something like that coming ever if that was actually a thing, right?
I would find that hard to believe.
Yeah. Well.
But yeah, Kyle, while you're trying to think of your thought, earlier on, you referenced an excellent meeting, with the administration, being on the same page, with John, Ryan, and the folks, on campus. With that being said, we've been talking about recruiting, what we have at our disposal, and so forth. Just give us a general glimpse behind the scenes. Obviously, we can't dive into specifics, but just the communication between yourself, Coach Houston, and as we go through the recruiting process.
Well, I think like what you see is us meeting with the coaching staffs and just letting them know this is what we have available. Just having the conversations about what players are retainable, which ones probably aren't, that type of thing. But that's about it, to be honest. We have a lot of conversations at times, and not even from a monetary standpoint, just questions that are asked by agents of players or whatever it may be. But as far as the coaches, they may kind of allude to a player may need this much or want this much, and we kind of work together and figure out if that's even feasible or whatever it may be, but not in any kind of out there kind of way, if that makes sense. It's just kind of, let's get with the board, let's get together, let's figure out what we have, what's available, what's the best use of money. So we're not going to bring in a guy that, maybe he was a 5-star recruit, didn't produce wherever he went at Alabama or something, and he just comes here just because he was at Alabama. That's not something we're into. We're trying to make sure that the money's being spent wisely, if that makes sense, and investing our own time and effort into trying to figure out if this player's worth a certain amount or not.
Right. And you mentioned that contract. Again, in general terms, what are some measures that we take as Team Boneyard to protect ourselves. Definitely put our best foot forward, but at the same time, if a guy chooses to enter the portal, do everything we can to protect East Carolina.
Yeah, so right now we're paying on monthly contracts, seasonal or whatever it may be, but we're having conversations in house about, do we start to think about giving them a bonus if they stay after the portal closes, those types of things, just to figure out what is the best pay structure to avoid any losses. We were fairly minimal this year, which is great, but we did have a couple guys come in. We paid them a couple months and they left. So, like I said, I mean, the losses are pretty minimal, but that's something that nobody saw being able to happen even back in the end of the year when we were coming up with the contracts for this year. Does that make sense? Because it's just happening so fast. It's like I said, weekly or monthly, something new is going on or being beat in court or whatever it is that allows unlimited transfers or whatever it may be.
Can you put something in the contract? Is it allowed? Is it not allowed that, hey, if you receive XYZ money and you decide to transfer in this amount of time, you must pay that money back?
I'm not sure if that's allowable, to be honest.
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
I don't see why I wouldn't be either, but I'm not a lawyer, a compliance lawyer at that.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. We're looking at all options and working with our compliance here at ECU to see what our options are for making sure that we do our best to protect the investments that Team Boneyard members are making against the Wild Wild West, open portal, open season all the time type situation that's going on out there.
Monthly payments is obviously one good way to do it, so you don't get stuck too bad. And another question I have for you, as you know, Team Boneyard, we're if you're a member, you're given. Are these numbers what we're paying players ever going to be public out there, or at least to team members?
I think that's a good question. I'm not sure if it will be, and there's for a good reason. I don't think any school's really trying to explain what they're paying players, right? Because then the other guys could be like, "Oh, you're only paying that QB this much money, and let me come in there and offer them twice that much because we can pretty easily, right?" So,
right.
I think there's two sides of it for me. I would love to be able to publish that and show you guys exactly what these players are getting paid. I can tell you that we are paying them very, very frugally, I guess you could say. I mean, we're doing a very good job of bringing guys in at what we can afford and not over stretching to go get somebody just because he's a name or just because of this or that, but trying to bring in very high quality players that we can afford based on the numbers that's given to Team Boneyard.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
And I don't know if you've done this research, you might not be able to answer it. You mentioned we'd need to be at about 1.5 million to be in the top tier of the American, that we'd never pass Memphis. Where would we be at if we were in the Sun Belt?
We would be in the top 3, I think, right now at what we're doing. So, when it comes to our competition, if you want to call it, we're doing pretty well, actually. Better than some schools that have collectives working with them. And I mean, what that boils down to is them finding a guy who's going to work part-time at ECU because he's working on 2 other schools as well.
Gotcha.
With the numbers we pay into it. Does that make sense? Or the numbers they get out of whatever we're getting.
Right.
But if you're Texas A&M, they may have 2 or 3 guys working for you. But if you're ECU, they may group us with 2 other schools, and that guy's going to work part-time here. So that's what we're really trying to work through and figure out what's the best way for us to make this work long-term for ECU. 'Cause, I mean, what that boils down to is them finding a guy who's going to work part-time at ECU because he's working on 2 other schools and that guy's going to work part-time here. So that's what we're really trying to work through and figure out what's the best way for us to make this work long-term for ECU. Because those guys are just, I don't want to say snake oil salesmen, but I mean, how long has this been a thing, and how big of a company could you have made this quick?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I do.
Right.
and
You
we
guys.
have 3 or 4 guys that started from nothing on Team Boneyard that have made our way, and we're trying to use our collective brains and experience of other companies that have done very well for a long time, right? So that and figuring out what is the best path forward is one of the things we talk about every single time we meet. So and we meet fairly often, and we text each other multiple times a day.
Well,
Moving into football season, one of the big things at the beginning of the football season is always meet the Pirates. With the initial, NIL at its core, one of the things you thought you would see a lot of is autographs, be it jerseys or other apparel, etc. So is that something maybe joining forces, with or having an event like a Meet the Pirates to benefit Team Boneyard?
That's a great idea. I think that was something we kind of had an idea for the spring game, but when you're already having a meet of Pirates and they're already signing autographs and everything
Right.
else, anyone going to pay for an experience like that, right? So I think there's other things coming that we've kind of been talking about, like a Team Boneyard golf tournament.
Yeah. Fishing tournament, perhaps, or
but perhaps a fishing tournament that's been thrown around a little bit. I mean, we have a lot of really good ideas, concerts, other things that we are seeing what the feasibility of those are under our current structure, right?
The concert is a fundraising event.
Correct.
I know Parmalee's mentioned a lot, of course, by Pirate Nation.
Yeah, Parmalee. Blake Prohl's probably somebody that could be approachable right now at this point. We've had conversations, and it's really just about feasibility. I mean, we want to be very, very smart and frugal with the money, and until we can reach the people to get enough people to be able to do better than, let's say, we did with the auction. I mean, we were pretty proud of what we did with the auction for the amount of people we're reaching right now, which is probably 1,500, right?
Right.
Maybe. How do you get to the 140, 150,000 Pirates? Not that they'll all buy in, but how do you get to 5 to 10,000 that do buy into, say, Pirate Club or whatever it may be? And why are you buying into that and not buying into Team Boneyard at the same time? Understanding the importance of what the players are going to be on the field versus, again, D2 players playing for us out there trying to compete.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You got some people that are going to be against it and never want to give to it. And you know what I would say to those people, it's okay to be against it and not like it. I'm one of those people, but it's reality. And if you again want to see East Carolina be competitive on the football field, on the basketball court, and continue to be competitive on the diamond, you're going to have to give, whether you want to or not. Whether you believe in playing players or not is really irrelevant at this point, unless you're just going to stop giving a damn about Pirate athletics and quit following it. You have got to give if you can afford to give.
And
to Team Boneyard.
If your best way of doing that, Kyle, is going out and get a bottle of vodka a month, that's $5 a month. Do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes makes drinks. I love mine with a Sprite. So
now, David, tomorrow, of course, big series getting underway between the Pirates and Rice. 13th ranked East Carolina looking to lock up the 5th straight regular season conference title in the American.
Yeah.
But back a few months ago at the beginning of baseball season, you had the announcement that the 23 club was coming into existence. Mike Harrington and some others, really spearheading that under the Team Boneyard umbrella. But tell us what you can about the 23 club. You can find them at 23club.org. Very, very good website. And also you have merchandise like a sharp hat that I've seen you wearing, obviously the players, Coach Godwin, etc.
Yeah, no, there's other stuff like Parker Bird hats just came out this week on Team Boneyard's shop, and other things like that. So it's what it is an idea. I think some of the alumni of Pirate Baseball and Cliff Godwin came up with to funnel money directly to baseball. We now have options where you can give to basketball or football or to 23 Club, but it was an idea just for them to be able to kind of create a pool of money for baseball. And we're happy to kind of wrap it under the umbrella of Team Boneyard and help them out.
And they've done an excellent job on social media. I noticed on their Instagram account over the last several weeks, and you've had, of course, Alec Burleson with the St. Louis Cardinals making a very generous contribution. Harrison Eldridge that played back in the early 2000s. Davey Penny, who was a teammate of Cliff Godwin, and several other Cliff Godwin teammates buying in and giving to Team Boneyard. Had the chance to have a conversation with Davey Penny at that game against the Tar Heels, a Pirate victory down in Fayetteville. And he was very adamant about the $23 a month option to his teammates, and that's something that I jumped on board as well at that $23 per month level.
Yeah, we also have, I think it's fantastic. I think what the guys are doing for their club is fantastic. I think what Alec Burleson is doing is just kind of the tip of the iceberg of what some of our alumni can do for 23 Club, for Team Boneyard. I think the future's bright. I mean, we have come a long way from 400,000 the first year to 1.2, 1.3 million this year. We just need that number to be closer to 2.5 million, and that we can get there. If it's shown anything in what we've done year to year, not saying it could be next year, but I think we can do this in the first 5 years of Team Boneyard and get where we need to be productive against our conference mates and hopefully win championships.
No doubt. Well said. And we appreciate you being so generous with your time tonight, David. But before we move on from this segment of the show and let you get on with your night, what would be your message to Pirate Nation? Anything that you may not have said up to this point?
I think it's just time. Let's just have a call to Pirate Nation. It's time to buy in. We have to buy in to Team Boneyard. We have to be able to give these guys something that they're going to want to come play at ECU. Otherwise, right now, they're going to go somewhere else. That's just the fact of the matter. That's what we're dealing with. If we can't offer them what they think that they are worth, and in some cases we won't offer them what they think they're worth, but if we can't offer them what they think they're worth, then they're just going to move on somewhere else that can. So contribute, get involved. That's all I got for you, man.
Sounds good. Again, we really appreciate your time. You've been very generous. And we'd love to have you back on the show sometime down the road during the summer months as we're moving into football season to not only talk Team Boneyard, but then also just talk a little Pirate football.
Yeah, hit me up, bud. Be happy to.
Sounds good. And Pirate Nation, that is David Price. We really appreciate his time tonight, taking 45 minutes to discuss Team Boneyard, ECU's NIL collective, doing an excellent job, like you just heard, raising well over $1 million, wanting to get to 2 or 2.5 million moving forward. And now I'll bring back in Kyle Barber. Kyle, excellent conversation there with David.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to me right there. I was still here, but some reason was not on the screen anymore. Good conversation with David. It kind of is what it is. Whether you agree or disagree with NIL, it's where we are in college athletics, and it is a requirement now to be competitive. So, is it the official website? What, teamboneyard.com, or what is the official URL?
It is teamboneyard.org.
.org. Teamboneyard.org.
Teamboneyard.org.
Okay. Don't
Yep.
go to .com. That'll take you somewhere else. Teamboneyard.org is
There,
where you
there we
need. There
go.
you
There we
go,
go.
right there. Yeah, on the screen. You need to go there and donate some money if you haven't yet. Teamboneyard.org. And like I said, if you want the Pirates to continue to be competitive, you better give. And I think one of the biggest things we can do is so obvious for us getting it out there is promote the hell out of it at football games this fall and really explain why it's needed.
Yep. Undoubtedly, I believe David referenced that during the conversation, at least in general terms, as far as having perhaps QR codes or things at the game. I know at basketball games this year, you had a nice Team Boneyard ad on the video board during the game. I would be expecting that this fall as well.
Yeah, and maybe on game day have a promotion where if you join on game day, you get XYZ, or the first 10 people to sign up at $10 a month today, on game day get a free whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Maybe I should have thrown it out to David when he was on the air. There's got to be ways to get these numbers up to get more and more people to give, because it's going to take that. It's going to take uh, a lot of people stepping up again. I keep harping on this, but and the reason I do is because I know there's a lot of people that feel that way, that are disagree with it, disgusted with it. But again, if you still want the Pirates to be successful, it is a necessary evil.
Yeah, some good points there. I think I've been very impressed with the creativity. A lot of these things have been things that Pirate Nation has been clamoring for, and be it these experiences where they get to sit in on, have interaction with John David Baker or Blake Harrell, Mike Houston, and I think I know Dave unfortunately was unable to attend, but he was taking part in the one with either John David Baker or Kim McNeil, and just having that interaction, having something tangible and an experience for the contribution you're making.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I've always said with the Pirate Club, if you don't want to go to a stupid banquet or a golf tournament, there's really nothing to do.
Well,
So it's good to see some of the more creativity with Team Boneyard. I could think of some other things that could be interesting for people to do. But I, everybody's got ideas. But I like the concert idea as a fundraiser. That's another way to reach a whole new audience too that may want to give.
No doubt. Kind of shifting on from the Team Boneyard
It's
discussion.
a damn shame, Bubba, before we move on to this, that Richmond wasn't here tonight. I mean, this is literally Dave's favorite topic. Dave Richmond, our host I'm talking about, is fundraising. And the fact that he wasn't here for this episode, it is a shame. I think it's one of the true tragedies in the history of our podcast that Dave missed this episode tonight, because there's nothing he would love more than to talk 45 minutes to an hour about fundraising.
Yeah, I told him about the interview, I guess about a week and a half ago, unfortunately, and there was just a conflict with Alex and Mackenzie's baseball and softball games, but I know he'll enjoy going back and listening to the conversation. But before we wrap the show up, kind of moving on from the NIL and Team Boneyard discussion, I referenced the 3-game series is starting tomorrow night with Rice. And, unfortunately, the Pirates midweek game with Campbell, I say unfortunately, in all honesty, for East Carolina and for Campbell, because they're in a situation where they're trying to make the CAA tournament and needing to conserve their pitching as well. As much as I would have liked to have played that game, it's probably best for both programs that it was not played.
No doubt, yeah. I don't think we'd have gained much by beating Campbell.
I think it was 10 RPI points. So yeah, there was going to be minimal benefit.
Yeah. So need to take care of business against Rice this weekend. Make sure we win the conference to make sure we can still be in position to host. It looks like a national seed is probably out the window. Um, the you know the question I have is the pitching situation. Who are we getting back? Are we getting everybody that's out except for Hunter back this weekend?
To be determined. Wyatt Lunsford Shinkman threw 9 pitches, as you know, on Friday night down at Tulane, and came into a very difficult situation, 5-5 going to the bottom of the ninth. And then, as Coach Godwin has referenced multiple times, and I know specifically in his interview that he has each and every Monday with Stephen Igo in 94.3 The Game, he stated that, that because honestly, I was watching that game, but I had to step away for a moment, and so I missed this the triple to lead off the bottom of the ninth for Tulane, and it was a misplay by one of our outfielders, where it could have been 1 out and bases clear, as opposed to a situation where we have a runner on third, no outs, have to intentionally walk to create the situation where you could have a double play, and I think where you had back-to-back hit batters, and so
Yeah.
it was a bad situation because of that misplay, even though it technically did not go down as an error. But Wyatt Lunsford Shinkman, I think, did have a little soreness after that, but from everything we've heard, depending on how he's feeling, he should be available against Rice. Kind of along those same lines, but he obviously has not been feeling quite as well. Zach Root has gone through his pregame routine, but didn't feel exactly right, so did not pitch, of course, against the Green Wave last weekend. Here's hoping he will be able to see 25, 30 pitches or something against Rice this weekend.
Yeah, and do we have the arms once everybody's back healthy? For a postseason run. I think that's the big question for everybody right now. If the bats can get back hot, we can do it. But do we have the arms if everybody gets back healthy for a deep postseason run? And we'll find out soon enough. First things first, got to take care of Rice and go through the conference tournament to make sure we keep our hosting chances where they are. I think it was D1 Baseball or Baseball America had us projected as the 11th or 12th seed. So
Yeah,
need to make sure we hold serve, so to speak.
yeah, those projections, for what they're worth, certainly content for their subscribers, but like you said, I think it was Baseball America. They had us at 11th, and then D1 had us at 12th, and then you had both of those regionals included Duke. One of them included Coastal Carolina. I know
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina's really struggled the second half of the season, and so yeah, it was one that didn't necessarily look too appealing on paper. But the bottom line is, I mean, you're gonna have to beat quality teams if you want to get to Omaha. Whether it's in the regional round, super regional. I mean, you got to win those sorts of games against that type of competition this time of year. So yes, there are better draws than others, but we just got to take care of our business. And I think if we can, and at this point, it seems to be, at least a decent size if we can get Wyatt Lunsford Shinkman and Zach Root pitching at the level that they were, back a month ago or a little over a month ago, then this team definitely has the ability to make it all the way to Omaha. Now, if you don't have those guys, and then of course you referenced Jake Hunter had surgery for Tommy John, still, doing his best to make an impact, in more of a player coach role, if you will. But with those 3 guys, you're missing 3 out of your top 5 or 6 arms.
Yeah, and hopefully we get 2 of them back, particularly at full strength by regional time is what you really got to hope.
Yep, and Pirates, as we sit here entering the final weekend of the season, of course, down 3 games. And let me clarify, when I say down 3 games, as far as playing 56, the Pirates only play 53. You have that 37-13 record right now with the 3 games against the Rice Owls remaining. You missed both games against VCU, one of which was attempted to be made up, and then you canceled it due to a scheduling conflict, and then you had the situation arise with Campbell this week. So 53 games as opposed to the 56, but as far as the Pirates lead in the American, a 1-game lead, 16-8 is ECU, and then you have UTSA at 15-9 this weekend, attempting to tie or surpass the Pirates.
Who do the Roadrunners have this weekend?
They have, let's see. If you hadn't asked me, I'd have been able to tell you. Just one moment, I'm confirming or looking that up right quick. They play FAU, and this is in Boca. So very challenging series for UTSA.
Yeah, that's good. We need to handle our own business and not have to worry about them losing a game. Let's go. Preferably sweep Rice, but I guess we just we would maintain our 1-game lead if I'm sorry here, Bubba. If we take 2 out of 3 and UTSA were to get the sweep, we still got the 1-game. No, they'd be tied at that point, wouldn't they?
At that point we'd have a shared conference title, and then they would get the number 1 seed because of the head-to-head winning the
so
series.
we have put ourselves in a situation here where we really need to sweep Rice to not have to worry about what UTSA is doing.
Correct. Johnny Robertson chimes in concerning RPI, saying the Pirates are 1 spot ahead of UVA in the RPI. Their lead went from 12 points to 6 points last night, even though neither team played.
Wow. It's funny how that can happen based on what your opponents that you played, earlier in the year has done. We all affect everybody. It's all tied together.
Yep. And as always, appreciate you, Justin, chiming in. Hey, what's your schedule looking like as far as umpiring? And you got some playoff baseball that you're calling right now. But
give him a minute to answer there.
Yeah, but so this weekend, we'll take a look. I mean, as far as some of the other top games taking place, last weekend you had Wichita State, help the Pirates out by taking all 3 games against Charlotte. That really will take a look at as far as, because this year you have a different element to the tournament, and that is that not everybody makes it.
Right.
So Rice is in a situation where they're currently 11 in 8th place, and then you have South Florida at 10-14, and Memphis at 9-15. So Rice has a whole lot to play for. They're playing for their season. It might as well be the tournament this weekend.
Yeah, well, like I said, we have put ourselves in a tough situation. Getting swept by Tulane to try to make sure we win this conference championship outright. With Rice playing for their season, and we're playing for a conference championship and securing a hosting spot.
Yep, and this is one of those things, based on moving into last week, the Pirates were in a situation where they could really control their destiny as far as that top 8. Now that ship is not fully sailed, but East Carolina is going to need a lot of help. The Pirates are going to have to really get hot. sweep Rice, and then probably go and win the tournament, where you're going to have, a 7-8 game win streak and be able to have a 44-13, 45-13 record and a regular season and tournament championships in hand to have that shot at creeping back into that number 8 seed. And you're going to have programs like Duke and the ones right there on the bubble, the top 8, falter in the final week of the regular season in the ACC, SEC, and other conference tournaments.
Yeah, I've given up on that national seed dream. I just want to make sure we host.
Definitely, and then sure, it wouldn't be guaranteed, but if you host a regional, you take care of your business, then there's no guarantee that the higher seed is going to come out of the one you're paired with. So
exactly,
you could end up hosting a super regional after all.
And we've almost won one on the road anyway. Texas Tech. So
yeah,
we could do it again. But first things first. Let's just take care of business this weekend.
And then still listening for some Pirate basketball news. Not a whole lot's out there. And I think we currently sit with 9 scholarship players, needing to bring in 4 more for 13, and to be at full strength as we're entering the summer months here. And so no news doesn't necessarily mean bad news, but I certainly understand why folks will be skeptical.
Well, as indicated by David earlier, you got these schools like High Point who have some money, if you know anything about High Point, and are committed to basketball, and certainly other schools like Davidson, obviously, that's very committed to basketball. That we're having to compete with, along with football schools that play basketball. So, I don't know. Pirate basketball has always been the drizzling shits. I don't know how in this current NIL landscape, what we're going to do about Pirate basketball. This is could really become concerning. Do you spend all the money on like one really good player and then put pieces around him? I mean, there's I guess different ways to approach it.
I will say I do like the pieces that Coach Schwartz and staff have brought in thus far, with Julian Samaro from Gardner-Webb, and then also Asa Essenvus and out of St. Bonaventure. Those are 2 guys that have multi-year starters and playing 28 to 30 minutes per game, and averaging right at or in excess of 10 points per game, and all the while shooting mid to upper 30s from 3-point range, which is an improvement over where we've been. And we just need more pieces, and so hopefully some of those pieces we're lacking, they can bring in guys that are of similar quality to the ones we have thus far.
Yeah, no doubt. I really don't. I'm at a loss for words for basketball, particularly in the NIL era. I mean, I really am. What did you think of David's earlier when I asked him where we would be at in the Sun Belt? He said top 2, top 3 at right now with what we have. That's interesting for 2 reasons to me. One, we recruit against those schools a lot because of proximity. Obviously Old Dominion, James Madison, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, Marshall, Georgia Southern. So it already is a benefit to us from a recruiting standpoint to be ahead of them financially. But again,
Yeah.
Bubba, it's something that we discuss. The money from the TV deal for the Americans is eventually going to go away, unfortunately. And you have to wonder at that point, is it more practical for us to be in the Sun Belt long term, once the TV deal goes away, which I don't believe happens until 2031. So there's still a ways to go.
Yeah. As far as the Sun Belt's concerned, I have several very close App State friends that are fairly well connected, and we've discussed some NIL matters, and I've told them, pretty much where we stand, the information that folks were hearing tonight or have heard in the past, and they just kind of laughed and they're like, "Yeah, we're nowhere near that." And obviously, from an on the field standpoint, they're right there in the cream of the crop in that league. Several conference titles, pre NIL, and then
Yeah.
last year they lost in the conference championship to Troy. Um, so just and then obviously in basketball, they were the regular season champion, and then JMU won the tournament.
Yeah, and I would, you look at the belt. I would assume James Madison would be the team with the most money. I don't know who number two would be. Georgia State, maybe just being in the city of Atlanta. They don't they don't come across as having a lot of money, but
Yeah, certainly. And finish your thought, and then I got something to chime in with concerning
I was going to
Georgia
say, but
State.
maybe just being in Atlanta, they have good NIL money.
So this is from an App State source, and I didn't fact check this information, but this source is normally fairly reliable. It said that Georgia State in, I guess, last year sold, I think it was $400,000 worth of athletics tickets. This wasn't just football now. This was men's basketball, etc.
Oh wow!
You think about that. If you have 40,000 at one game and those people only paid $10 to get in, that's 400K.
Yeah, that's
So,
nothing.
that gives you an idea.
I don't imagine their NIL's that big then.
No,
Okay, I'm trying to figure out who number two is. JMU and Marshall then would be my guess. I don't know.
unless it's a corporate, unless it's
Yeah,
FedEx situation to a lesser
right.
degree. Obviously, it's not going to be what FedEx is giving Memphis, because they're doing everything they can to get them positioned to go wherever, when the shakeup comes to pass.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious to know who is the top dogs in the belt financially. Again, I would think it would be JMU, and then after that, Louisiana. I don't know. There's a lot of different schools that coming to mind. Marshall, Southern Miss, probably not. I don't guess it really matters. It's just fun to talk about.
Yeah, we'll have to do some research on that, but I would say that if they're not at the top, but I would think that James Madison is pretty close to it.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Just based on their on the field success.
Oh, you can look at their facilities.
And exactly, I'm gonna say looking at Bridgeforth Stadium and their new basketball arena, that's just absolutely gorgeous.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Liberty's number one in Conference USA.
Yeah,
Just guess.
yeah, yeah.
Got a hunch.
Very educated,
Yes.
guess there.
Yeah.
And Pirate Nation, you'll get to see Williams Stadium this year. When ECU travels to Lynchburg on what would be the final game, at least final non-conference game of the month of September.
At some point, I do believe this wholeheartedly. Um, you know, Liberty, if they, last year, going to the New Year's Six, now they're going to be competing for a playoff spot. If it won't be a New Year's Six spot, I truly believe at some point the American is going to have to invite Liberty in.
Yeah, I know that's a conversation we've had before, and would not be surprised about that at all.
I think they're going to force our hand. I mean, if you're winning Conference USA every year,
Right.
and that's going to put you in position to be in the playoffs, because as of right now, a group of 5 schools is going to get in the playoffs. Then eventually, if you can't beat them, join them. You're just going to invite them in because they're a problem.
Right. Do you have anything else before we get out of here?
Not a thing. We for our watchers, viewers, and listeners, we haven't been as active recently here on the podcast. Been doing fewer podcasts. I'm sure it'll pick up now around NCAA tournament time for baseball, we'll be putting out more content following the Pirates through the postseason. Then we'll get into our summer schedule, and then before you know it, Bubba, it'll be August, and we'll be cranking up for football. But tune in to us on YouTube, Facebook, on any of the podcast platforms you choose to listen on. Via Apple Podcasts, tune in, Google Podcasts, whatever. We're not putting out as much content these days, but we're still out there, and the content will pick up here through the baseball postseason, and certainly as we roll to the end of summer and get ready for football season.
Yeah, like Kyle said, and follow us on social media on X. You can find us at The Sports OBJ, on Instagram and TikTok at The Sports Objective. Follow us on Facebook and make sure you like our page there. And then, of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel. And then when you subscribe, also be sure to click that notification bell and all. So anytime we go live or upload new content, you're alerted on your device. Also, on our Facebook page, as well as our X account at The Sports OBJ. So again, on Facebook or on X at The Sports OBJ, you can go and we have it pinned to each of those accounts. Our affiliation with Home Field Apparel, an excellent company based out of Indianapolis. They have over 150 schools, different colleges, and then also a few pro lines as well. But you see there on the screen for our viewers, the script Pirates that everyone loves, the vintage marks, the modern skull and crossbones with a no quarter. And they also, have other hoodies, T-shirts, maybe long sleeve tees, but some excellent apparel. I know anyone I've spoken to that has ordered something from Home Field has been very pleased with their purchase. Personally, I have several T-shirts and a couple of hoodies, and T-shirts very nice, and I'm even a bigger fan of the hoodies. And I'm going to be ordering the one that you see there on the screen with the script Pirates, but I have the one, this oatmeal hoodie that has the vintage pirate that you see on the gold T-shirt, the top right of the screen, with a block East Carolina. Very sharp looking as well. And notice that Cliff Godwin actually had that one on a couple days ago when he did his interview with Stephen Igo.
I didn't know you could eat a hoodie, let alone it be made of oatmeal. That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But put in promo code TSO at checkout and save yourself 15% off.
Yep. Use that promo code to save that 15%. And then you have the link directly from our Facebook page and X account. The easy button there for you to click on. So buy yourself or your loved ones some East Carolina swag. But for the absent Dave Richmond, and then, of course, Kyle Barber, I'm Bubba Rosenbaum. We appreciate the time tonight of David Price of Team Boneyard. So if you're tuning in toward the end of the show, go back and check out that conversation, about 45 minutes with David Price. You won't be sorry that you did. Some very enlightening information about ECU's NIL collective. But that will do it for this edition of the Sports Objective. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll have extra innings on Sunday night as Mike Mullis, the color analyst, alongside the ESPN play-by-play voice.
Come on, Bubba. What's his name?
Well, I was trying to think of his name, but it changes. So I was like,
the ESPN Plus color analyst Mike Mullis will be with us.
Yeah, Mully will join us on Sunday night. But as you can tell, I'm exhausted, so we're going to get out of here. Appreciate you tuning in, and as always, go Pirates.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.